I'm going to yield my time to the gentlewoman from Georgia.
The gentleman yields to the gentlelady from Georgia, Ms. Taylor Greene.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys coming to speak to the committee today, and thank you very much for letting me wave on. Just a few months ago, our nation watched in absolute horror while a Chinese spy balloon traversed across the United States of America, spying on our military bases, our country's infrastructure, just surveilling everything that China could take in as it traveled across the United States, and the Biden administration did absolutely nothing. And Americans were so upset. The outrage was unbelievable. And then finally, the spy balloon gets shot down over the Atlantic after China completed its mission, and come to find out, after they picked up the pieces out of the ocean, that they knew from pictures they were taking that this device was sending back images and information back to China. It's shock. It's almost unspeakable. It's unspeakable that this actually happened. In 2018, the Department of Justice announced the China Initiative to combat the CCP's relentless campaign to steal U.S. intelligence, technology, and cutting-edge research. Ms. Murphy, I share my colleague's shock that you haven't read the Durham report. So I'm not sure how much you know about the China Initiative under President Trump's administration, but I think it was very important, as well do many Americans who feel threatened by China. China wants to replace us economically, and they're doing a pretty damn good job of it. China wants to beat us militarily, and they have the fastest growing military in world history. So Americans that exist and live and pay all the taxes outside of this city truly feel threatened by China, and we're greatly appreciative of the Trump administration that had the China Initiative. In March 2022, even FBI Director Christopher Wray, who's loyal completely to the left and trying to go after their political enemies, admitted that the Bureau had more than 2,000 China-related cases and was opening a new China-related case every 12 hours. In spite of this, despite the clear need for a mission focusing on CCP threats, Assistant Attorney General Matthew Olsen ended the China Initiative based on accusations that the investigations under the initiative were excessive or racially biased. Ms. Murphy, you have quite an extensive career, and I would think you would understand the threats that China poses to us. Do you agree with Attorney General Matthew Olsen ending the China Initiative?
Thank you for the question. I think I agree. The threat from the Chinese Communist government is massive, and something that we need to take very seriously in all levels of our government and our private and public sectors. I think the China Initiative is something that was misperceived by our Chinese community against Chinese people. I think that concept behind the Chinese Initiative was to protect academic institutions and research from the Chinese Communist government. I think the things that we're doing to protect research in universities and innovation continues in that space. And if people are doing criminal acts or grant fraud, then we're working with those institutions to take corrective action or criminal prosecution.
Well, Ms. Murphy, protecting our national security and protecting our country from everything, protecting our intelligence, protecting our technology, protecting America's interests has nothing to do with anyone's race or any type of identity. The China Initiative wasn't any type of anything to go against Chinese Americans. This was all about fighting the CCP. So would you agree that this initiative needs to be put back in place?
I would say that the work that we're doing in that area continues.
Well, I don't think it's good enough, because obviously FBI Director Christopher Wray has admitted that more than 2,000 related cases have been opened, and now there's a China-related case every 12 hours. So I would say that you all are failing at your mission.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Yes, I yield back to Mr. Greene. Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired. The chair now recognizes Ms. Greene for her 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to continue talking about this Chinese spy balloon here for just a minute. It is truly shocking. Senior U.S. government officials reported in February 2023 that the Chinese spy balloon was able to gather intelligence from several sensitive homeland defense sites, resulting from the Biden administration's, of course, willful refusal, shocking refusal, something that Americans just do not understand, can't comprehend why it wasn't shot down. Given it's a proven fact that the Biden family has been receiving payments from our oversight investigation from CCP-linked foreign nationals in exchange for power and influence, this could very well be strategic sabotage by the CCP, basically owned White House. I would like to ask you, Mr. Kahangama, do you think that this is a national security threat against our homeland?
Thank you for the question. While I would defer some of the intelligence questions to my colleague in the intelligence community, I would say that the ability of the high-altitude balloon to conduct surveillance from the CCP perspective is a threat to our country.
Right, but given the fact that we've seen money transferred from China into LLCs, and then that money being paid out to multiple Biden family members, that is a clear, it actually puts our country at risk, our entire national security at risk when that's happening. And that's proven in bank statements. It has been shown in financial reports that exist in the Treasury that we've reviewed. And I think it's very serious. What kinds of vulnerabilities to sensitive homeland security sites and critical infrastructure were likely created as a result of this intelligence breach?
Thank you for the question, ma'am. I would say the use of the high-altitude balloon is just one more tool, as I mentioned earlier today, with regard to the CCP's toolbox. They use everything at their disposal, and a high-altitude balloon is just one more of them. It's also seen as perhaps a provocative action of theirs, the same way they're engaged in provocative activities in the South China Sea and Taiwan Straits. So with regard to the vulnerabilities, there's certainly some concern about the imagery that may have been collected or that's possibly to be collected from such a balloon over critical infrastructure, over military installations and such. But at this point, I'm not in position to say any more about what those individual vulnerabilities are, and I would defer to my colleagues at the FBI and specifically in DOD who have oversight of the actual balloon and are engaging in the actual research and analysis of the tools that were on it.
Okay, well, Ms. Murphy, I would ask you then what, since I guess you're deferring to Ms. Murphy, is that correct?
Ma'am, not necessarily Ms. Murphy, but the other folks at the FBI who are working with elements at DOD to provide some. All
right, well, I'll ask all three of you, since all of you receive taxpayer-funded paychecks just like I do. How do you think the American people feel about a spy balloon going all the way across the country, taking pictures of God knows what? The American people have no idea. They wanted it shot down, screamed for it shot down. So what do we have to say to the American taxpayers who work very hard for the money that they earn, pay the IRS, their tax dollars that pay all of our paychecks, pay for this building, the lights that turn on, and all of the research and everything to do with this entire thing? I'll go one at a time. What do you all have to say to the American people on that failure? Ms. Murphy?
I'd say the FBI is working very hard to protect the American people.
Do you think the American people trust the FBI, Ms. Murphy?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'm going to tell you they don't. Mr.
I would say that the high-altitude balloon posed a threat and it was shot down, and we are working with the investigative agencies to determine the specifics of that. Thank you.
Ma'am, I would say that the people at INA, the analysts there, are working diligently to ensure that we share any and all threat information with those individuals across the nation who are in position to mitigate those threats.
Well, the tragic news for our country is China has already collected everything they need, and their mission was successful while our government's mission failed the American people. Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Thank you. The gentlelady's time has expired.